Hi guys, it's Reagan and welcome to the start of another weekend reading vlog. So this reading vlog is going to act as a bit of self-care and I'm looking forward to my TBR, but I'm also just looking forward to the next couple of days. In full transparency, I have not been my best self these past couple of days. I've really let my anxiety get a bit out of hand. So I've decided to kind of switch up my TBR a bit and focus on reading some books I know will relax me or just fun and lighthearted, and also kind of focus on getting myself kind of back on track over the next couple of days. I essentially just want to relax, read, I want to do some cleaning, and just kind of be a little softer with myself. So I thought I would make this vlog, this little self-care reading vlog. But yeah, without further ado, let's go ahead and show off the books I hope to read over the next couple of days. I actually have 3 books to show off. I basically want like low stakes and romance. The first book, I have only about 130 pages left, and that is Written in Red. This is an urban fantasy story that has a very, so far at least, slow burn romance between our main character. I'll talk a bit more about it later, but I do plan to finish this book today. This is the first book to a pretty long series, and honestly the setup has been very interesting so far, and I would say I'm enjoying it, but I do want to finish this book up. And then I also grabbed 2 other books from my bookshelf that I thought would just be fun and easy and light reads, which I'm looking forward to. The first is A Portrait of a Scotsman by Evie Dunmore. This author wrote Breaking Down the Duke, which I really enjoyed when I read it a little over a year ago, so I thought this could be a fun one to pick up. Brooding, historical romance, always my fave. And then I also have this holiday romance that I got from Book of the Month this month called The Holiday Swap, which basically follows 2 sisters that switch places and fall in love with 2 different men. It sounds like a Lifetime movie in a book, and just again, really, really entertaining. Those are the books I plan to read. A bit, again, departure from my December TBR, though Written in Red was on my TBR, but I want to read something light and easy for a few days, and then I will venture back into my dark fantasy, which I also love. I just feel like I need something just a little more easy breezy, if that makes sense. Today is Saturday afternoon. It's actually very chilly in Austin. Clay and I spent the morning just kind of going around town doing some walks, but now I am posted up at home. And while we don't have any major plans for this evening, tomorrow I'm really looking forward to, because I'm gonna be building gingerbread houses with my friend Emily, and we're gonna watch Christmas movies and go to a Christmas market, just doing some fun little stuff there. But today I just want to read, eat some candy, and get my life together a little bit and kind of set myself up for success for the rest of the week, well, going into next week. But that's my plan. Just read romances, hang out, try to chill, tell myself to chill. The old brain sometimes can be a little pesky, if you know what I mean. But anyway, welcome to this vlog. I'm looking forward to reading these books and sharing them with you. 3 books, so hopefully we'll see how many pages I'm able to read over the next few days, but no pressure. Step 1, I'm making myself a pot of coffee. Clay is doing some shopping with a friend, so he can't complain about my decision to make this sweet coffee, which I love. I got this snickerdoodle coffee from H-E-B. It's so tasty, and I think a little festive. There's some cinnamon in there, so let's brew it up. Put some Below Deck on for temporary entertainment as I don't even want to show you guys. I think it's so embarrassing. My office has gotten a little messy. I just feel like I have stuff everywhere, so I'm now gonna spend some time putting this back together and then allowing myself to be nice and organized for Monday. Session is done and coffee is done. And I'm now gonna sit down and finish Written and Read, but first, I'll tell you a bit more about it. Hi everyone, so I'm gonna sit down and read the last 130 pages of Written and Read. This book reads very, very quickly, and I'm excited to be back in this world. So this book is actually a reread for me, and I would say it is similar to what I remember. I do feel like there were a few aspects I forgot. First and foremost, the romance is definitely going to be there, but right now it's a very slow burn, which I don't mind so much, especially because this book series is so long. I appreciate the time to actually build up the tension before we get the payoff. I think it makes it more entertaining. But the larger aspect of this book that honestly has called out to me is I think the setting is really cool. So a bit about this book. So Written and Read is the first book to the Others series, and we primarily follow our main character Meg, and she has basically for her entire life been raised in this compound. She has no real, interaction with the outside world, and the reason why she's been raised in this compound is because she is a blood prophet, and basically her prophecies are sold to the highest bidder. And at the beginning of this book, she's essentially escaped and runs to the only place that she can find safety, which is the Others compound. For context, basically humanity has been at odds or with a tenuous peace with another species called the Others, and the Others have always been present on Earth, and they're obviously made up of a variety of different creatures, from elementals to vampires to werewolves, and the conflict between humans and the Others have always existed. They have their own governments, they have their own structure, there's some kind of like neutral ground, but the Others basically control a lot of the natural resources from water, electricity, all of that, and humanity kind of provides some of the technological advancement and more creature comforts. So through time there has been some peace or some coexistence, but like the Others are very dangerous in this world. They have their own laws, and it's not like a romanticization of how we usually encounter like werewolves and vampires sometimes in urban fantasy stories. And I think it's pretty cool that it's very established, like there's their own system of government, their own structure, and that is very much present within this courtyard, which I think when you hear the word courtyard, you imagine a small space, but a courtyard is basically where the Others live near major metropolitan human cities, and they're huge swaths of land. And there is an area on this courtyard where our other main character, Simon, who's kind of the leader of the courtyard, has like a few businesses that humans can shop at, and he runs a bookstore. And he basically hires Meg, and he's very suspicious of her from the offset, which to be fair, he probably should be, because she is a blood prophet on the run, and she basically starts working there and begins to fit in the community. Obviously they have a hard time keeping human liaisons, which are basically responsible for like organizing the mail, delivering the mail, and working with other humans who have to come on the property. They've had a hard time keeping someone employed in this job because it's generally kind of dangerous to work around others. And they might get eaten, they might get run off, all of those things. But Meg quickly enjoys her job, not only because she's desperate and she wants to be somewhere where human law doesn't apply, which she's able to get through living and working on the courtyard, but she also just likes the freedom of in itself. Meg's character is really interesting. She's very naive and very, very sweet, but it's not annoying in the way that I feel like I would usually find in a story like this, because her naivety makes sense because she has grown up in an isolated situation where she could, she was taught everything about the world through a TV screen. Her communication was closely monitored and controlled. So her being in the courtyard, kind of encountering literally everything for the first time and not necessarily knowing how to approach it is like very natural for her. Like she has to learn how to clean, she has to learn how to cook, she has to learn how to sort mail. Like she's never encountered any of these things. And she also, because of this, tends to have a bit of a fresh perspective. She doesn't really have a lot of the prejudices that exist between the Others and humans because she's been isolated from everyone for so long. So she tends to approach situations differently, but like with a sweet heart, I guess they often say. And so far I'm really liking this book. It's really just been about Meg getting settled into this courtyard setting. We're meeting all different types of you know, supernatural creatures, which is cool. And then a large part about this book too is there are some powerful people trying to get Meg back because she is a blood prophet and a really sensitive one. They want to recapture her, but because she's on a courtyard, human law does not apply and they can't just like arrest her and take her back. Some other elements of this book which I think are interesting. We get one set of perspectives from the police officers in the area who are trying to work closely with the others and kind of seeing this complicated relationship, but one that is trying to be for mutual benefit between like two bodies of power within the area is pretty interesting. And then we also follow a woman named Asia who's kind of working for some benefactors that we're unclear about, and she's trying to gather information about the others. This is book one, so it's really about setting the foundation. Not a lot of stuff has happened. There has been some action, but it's really been about introducing us to how the world works. Obviously, there's gonna be many, many more books and many things along the way, but so far I am enjoying it quite a bit. It reads super fast, it's entertaining, and I'm looking forward to more books in this world. Meg's likable, even though she's really naive. Like, she's sweet and she's trying her best. But I'm going to sit down and finish it now. I feel like I am definitely in the falling action a bit, so I feel like we're gonna have a bit more spice in the plot, so I'm looking forward to that. But nonetheless, so far this reread has been successful. It's interesting. I thought this was going to be so much more romance forward, and it's not so much. It's focused more on like the plot and the setup, which I actually appreciate. So I'm liking it. I for sure will be probably checking out book two, but let's finish it first. I'm gonna read it now. That's what the book is about. Okay. I'm gonna be sad when I have to take my Christmas tree down, but faux fireplace is on. I decided to improve this coffee situation. Whipped cream and coffee is one of my favorite things. It brings it to a whole new level, everyone. I finished my first book of the vlog, which I will give you more information about later. I also changed into comfortable clothes for the evening. All cozy. It's actually really cold today. Did I already mention that? It's chilly. But Clay's on his way home. He's picking up a pizza. We also are going to be playing some Dead by Daylight tonight with Monica and a few friends. He and I have never played before. We're trying it out. We're queuing up with some people. We're looking forward to it. So that is my grand plans for this evening. Yeah. Pizza, pizza, pizza time. I could eat Jet's pizza every day of my life. Family's all here. We're setting up for a little Dead by Daylight session. We're about to do the tutorial before we sync up with
the remote control, because that solves all my key mouse.
Oh, you might be able to. You can. It's cross-platform. Anyway, we're gonna do the tutorials.
What?
I'm doing a very bad job, but I'm having a lot of fun. It's very late. I played so much Dead by Daylight. I'm so bad at it. It also is fun, but it scares me because I'm a wimp. But it was really fun to play with Jessie, Maureen, Monica. Clay played too. Good way to pass the time, but now I'm going to do some reading and go to sleep. As I said, I finished Written and Read, and I think now I'm going to start my historical fiction romance, read a little bit of that tonight, read much more tomorrow. Just wanted to say I'm done playing video games, and now it's time for reading. And good morning, friends. Having a cup of coffee, and then Clay bought a million donuts last night. We were watching a donut documentary, and he said, I need donuts now, so we have a lot of donuts. So I'm gonna have one of these blueberry cake donuts this morning. If you've ever been to Voodoo Donuts, these are actually my favorite. I feel like, you know, in comparison, you wouldn't expect it, but they're so good. So I have one of those. Hi friends, good morning and happy Sunday. I am dressed and ready because Clay and I are actually about to head out and meet up with my friend Emily, go to a Christmas market. But I wanted to talk about some book related things first. So first and foremost, as I quickly mentioned yesterday, I did finish the entirety of Written and Read. I read 132 pages of this yesterday, and overall I would say I enjoyed the book. Not to sound too repetitive to my very long kind of talk about an introduction to that book, I thought it ended up pretty entertainingly. It definitely escalated as you would expect sort of plot-wise at the end. I wouldn't say the book blew my mind, but I do feel like it was really focused on creating a foundation for this world and series. The element I enjoyed the most was not only just like the political system and the world in terms of how this urban fantasy functions, But I also appreciate how like brutal the paranormal creatures are. I feel like the author walks a fine line between the romanticization of these, you know, werewolves, vampire types creatures that you normally run into in paranormal centered romance stories. But I do feel like she also creates this feeling of that they're truly other, like they're a different species, they're more brutal, or just how they react to things is fundamentally going to be different than humans because they are different like creatures. And that is like fundamental to the story and also the interactions between others and humans. And I just think that dynamic is well done within this book. I do want to give a trigger warning for cutting and bleeding. Meg, our main character, is a blood prophet, so the topic of that is present within this book. So I just wanted to be sure to call that out in case you're interested in reading this. The romance was like pretty much non-existent in this first one, but you still feel the groundwork of it. And I appreciate, again, as I mentioned, kind of a slow burn, but I do want to also shout, like, do not pick this book up if you're expecting like steamy romantic scenes. Like, there was pretty much nothing outside of the hints of tension that could possibly develop in later books, basically. Is what I want to say. But nonetheless, I definitely enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to continue on with the rest of the books in the series. I think I'd give it like 3.5 stars. It was cool. It intrigued me. But in terms of what I was able to read last night, oh, here it is. I started Portrait of a Scotsman, which is a historical romance story by Evie Dunmore. I did not read very much. I fell asleep very quickly after staying up really late playing Dead by Daylight, which I enjoy Dead by Daylight, but I think I only like playing directly with my friends. When I play with strangers, then all of a sudden everything becomes way more scary. But in summary, this basically follows our main character, Hattie, who is an heiress. And when it comes to setting up a marriage, she basically wants a gentle partner, someone who will let her live her life and pursue her artistic interests, but instead she's arranged to be married to a dark and grumbling, intense businessman. It's like a marriage of business, convenience, they hate each other, but then obviously they slowly begin to love each other. So far, I really have not read much, but I love Evie Dunmore's writing. I love her character dynamics. The dialogue is always really quippy and funny. I'm looking forward to reading more. I'm hoping this has some wintry scenes, but nonetheless, we'll see. But I did start this last night and I hope to read quite a good chunk later today. But now I'm gonna head out to the Christmas markets and I'm gonna make gingerbread houses, watch some Christmas movies today. I'm really looking forward to having just like a holiday, cozy good time. But just wanted to wrap up Written in Red and show you my new book. We are approaching the Christmas market. It is a bright and sunny day in Texas, but chilly. It's nice. It actually feels a little festive outside. We are back. We're gonna watch The Christmas Catch, which follows an undercover cop trying to catch a jewel thief. And we got our gingerbread mansion. Yeah, mansion. The only mansion I'll ever be constructing in my life. So, happy holidays. Barring a few construction integrity issues, it's pretty much standing.
Pumpkin, I know I'm your mother.
It's going all right.
I think it looks good.
I think it looks great. Giving you guys a quick tour because not sure how long this thing is gonna stay together. We try to put some reinforcements using fondant on the top. You haven't even seen the front plate?
It's not even, oh no. I got it, I got it.
Just wanted to show you guys Clay's holiday lightning. Clay's holiday.
I don't think that I can move my hand at all. Wait, this is
I'm sorry, this is so chaotic. But here's the front. There.
Okay, ready? I'm gonna take my finger away for a second so you can get the whole.
Okay. This was gonna be my cute thumbnail, but I'm not so sure anymore. So
I'll make a historical plaque for it.
we've rebranded. This is a ruin, an ancient ruin, you know, that's crumbling. Not current. That's why it looks like this. You know, we're trying to preserve as much as we can for historical, you know, for the history of it all, but truly it's just, what is it? Time weathers everything. Emily added some ivy and some greenery representing nature, taking back this ancient structure. And a plaque, a historical plaque. I think we're I think we're at a good spot with this. I feel good about this. All right, it's a few hours post gingerbread decorating fiasco. I took a bit of a nap, I'm gonna be totally honest with you. But I wanted to quickly talk about, we watched this movie called The Christmas Catch, which again follows an undercover police officer trying to catch a jewel thief. It was so terrible, but like in the best way. Like the plot made no sense. The plot whole, like it was just almost incoherent. Like someone was incredibly drunk, like wrote this story and plot line. But in my opinion, like the worse the Christmas movie is, like the better and more entertaining it is. So it's also only an hour and a half. It's on Netflix. Would highly recommend it if you also like terrible Christmas movies. But now I'm going to sit, get a cup of coffee, enjoy my fireplace, my faux fireplace, and read more of Portrait of a Scotsman, which I only read like 15 pages of last night. So I'm gonna try to read a chunk more, make some dinner, probably hang out with Clay tonight. I think we're gonna plan to finish our documentary, probably watch the new episode of Succession, which airs tonight. But overall, just keep chilling, relaxing. I had such a lovely day going to that little market, you know, hanging out with Emily and Clay. We got coffee and tacos. It was a really lovely way to spend the morning and afternoon. And now I'm gonna top it off with reading and hanging out with Matilda. Isn't that right, Millie? Coffee, a fireplace, and Christmas tree. And we have our first present. That's one of Clay's gifts I got him. I need to wrap it. So right now it's just a box. And Matilda, who always keeps me company. Well, I guess I shouldn't say always. So she's deciding to keep me company today, which I'm very grateful for. Hi everyone, I've just been sitting here reading, and I do feel like I finally read enough where I can actually give you an opinion about this book so far. So I've read about 75 pages of A Portrait of a Scotsman, and so far I'm really enjoying it. I mean, I was wanting just like a fun, lighthearted, like steamy historical romance, and I do feel like this is going to deliver. A bit more context about the story itself. It follows our main character Hattie, and she is the second eldest daughter to like a very wealthy established banking family in London. And she's also kind of like the black sheep of the family in that all of her siblings are, you know, really well versed in the family business, really great at math, and are kind of always talking about investments and those types of things. But Hattie herself struggles with math and just kind of some other aspects and doesn't really find that interesting. But she is an exceptional artist, and she's actually studying at Oxford, which is a general tie for all these books in the series. All the main female heroines are all like blue stockings and are studying at Oxford, and Hattie is doing that, but she is studying art history, and just like all those things. So she's really interested in art, which kind of opens this book in sort of the immediate crashing together of our two main characters with a very big misunderstanding. She basically travels to our main character Lucian's house to go to his like private gallery because he's like hosting a gallery, but due to the weather it was canceled. She was the only one who showed up, and there was a misunderstanding between them, and he thought she was just there, so he kissed her. I don't know, it's crazy. She then immediately fled, but now he's kind of sniffing around her family because Lucian is also a very like big investor, and he is like a banker himself, and he is actually the biggest like competitor to Hattie's father and their business. And I think with the run-in at the beginning of this book, he sees Hattie as a great opportunity to kind of get in more with the blue bloods in the London society scene, because while he's very rich, he's not really respected. He's kind of viewed as this like brooding, dark, angry Scotsman, all of those things. So far, I'm enjoying Hattie as a main character a lot. I find her to be really, really likable. She is definitely someone who has to be more reserved around her family, and people make a lot of assumptions about her, don't really want to take the opportunity to kind of understand her, and because they assume she's not so great at one thing, they assume she's not good at anything, which is definitely not the case. I really love that art is, I feel like, going to be very central to this particular plot and story. That is also something that Hattie herself is very much an expert in, not only as a painter, but as a historian. She just loves art, and I think that'll be a cool component of this book. From Lucien's point of view, he's obviously an investor, which in general I find to be kind of boring, but what I do think is cool is, given the time period, technology and technological advancements are also a big part of his business. So kind of talking about like the new and greatest technology like electricity and two-way mirrors are like a big part of his plot line, which is interesting. I'm looking forward to them kind of crashing more together. I feel like this will be like a setup of not so much of a marriage of convenience, but like an arranged marriage for business perspectives. Like two people that feel very different from one another, but I think will inevitably, obviously, fall in love. But the setup is cute and entertaining so far. Hattie is great, which I feel like is very important. And I do feel like Evie Dunmore is great when it comes to dialogue. She just makes like entertaining interactions. And yeah, so first 75 pages have been good. I'll be reading more tonight, but now I'm going to start dinner because I'm getting hungry. And as I said, watch TV with Clay. So that's the plan. Just wanted to let you know. I've read 75 pages, and now, I mean, I've officially read over the 200 page mark over the past like 24 hours or so. Dinner is underway. I forgot I had this giant garlic bread, so obviously making that because garlic bread is incredible. But I'm making this shrimp and white bean recipe again because honestly it was super good. I have all the ingredients still, so only made sense in my opinion. So fast. And so I'm gonna whip it up now. It is really, timer is off, one of those meals where you just kind of combine everything in the pan. I like to cook down the beans so they get like a little pasty personally, but I don't know, it's really nice. It's kind of like what I imagine an Italian pasta tastes like, but instead of pasta you have beans, you know? It's good. A plate of garlic bread, dinner, and the Bears versus the Packers. We abandoned watching the Bears game because it's just too sad. So we're not gonna find something on Hulu to watch. Matilda even blessed us with her presence, and then I'm gonna read here in a minute too. TV is off, and now it's time to do more reading. Hello everyone. Good morning. Matilda and I are about to sit down and do some reading. Given that this is more of a self-care focused vlog, I did work in a way last week to kind of try to give myself a bit of a half day today, which I'm really looking forward to. And I am gonna be spending the morning reading as much as I can, just kind of relaxing, hanging out with Matilda, and just reading romance books. Basically, I've hoped to read a lot this morning, so I'm gonna get to it now, but just wanted to say hi. All right, I'm about to get up and get dressed for the day, but I have passed the 200 page mark of A Portrait of a Scotsman, and I am enjoying this book. I so far don't think I'm liking it as much as Bringing Down the Duke, but I still find the writing and everything really engaging. I also think the author's doing some interesting stuff like between the dynamics of characters, which I appreciate. So the setup and the plot has kind of evolved even further. So obviously Hattie and Lucien have had some run-ins. There's also a lot of business intersect, but basically the main driving plot is that Lucien kind of sees Hattie as an opportunity to break into the more higher echelons of society. So he sort of manufactures a situation where they will have to get married. So obviously not so great, and it works. So now they're married. Inside of this obviously problematic setup that creates a lot of tension between the two of them, there are two kind of specific to each character issues that create also a lot of additional tension. First and foremost, as a woman, Hattie grew up very wealthy, very, very privileged, but at the end of the day, she's also a woman. So in marriage, she basically becomes the property of her husband, and it's obviously a very frightening situation to be in, because at the end of the day, you're kind of at the mercy of his mercy. She has no control over her life in any way, shape, or form. So that is something that she is really struggling with as a new bride, and then obviously finding out that her husband basically manufactured to get married to her for economic gain. She's in a situation where she greatly dislikes Lucien, which is a big plot point. On the flip side, there's a lot of communication issues in terms of both characters are like misunderstanding why they are upset with each other, because obviously Hattie is with the viewpoint of she feels that her husband isn't recognizing the fact that she's in a very vulnerable position, versus he is having a hard time even interpreting that, because in his mind, Hattie is like untouchable. Like she comes from this place in society that is so effortlessly like graceful and class. Like she has been trained to move in circles her entire life that he is not even uncomfortable moving through. Like they don't even want to let him in. He feels that she views him as like brutish and uncivilized and, you know, all of these things, and a lot of their social interactions are really rooted in miscommunication. Like she's spurned because she feels like she's being disrespected as a wife, and then he interprets it more as that she's kind of being a brat and thinking that he is uncivilized and she's like uptight. So a lot of the conflict is sort of rooted in class and wealth as well as sex. So it's kind of interesting. And then obviously there is this tension, this romantic chemistry that's happening between our two main characters as they're trying to weave through a lot of this misunderstanding. But I think it's interesting to kind of really bring those two conflicts like out into the forefront. Like the author isn't really dancing around the complexities that these characters would feel with moving within these sorts of situations. It's interesting so far. I'm about halfway through. I feel like I'm kind of hopefully at the height of the conflict. We'll see. Hattie is very upset, which honestly I kind of get. Like she was sort of tricked into having to get married to this man because of social scandal. So, you know, how it goes sometimes. But I'm going to continue to read this throughout this morning. I'm going to take a bit of a break and get dressed for the day, but I'm going to try to finish this. But yeah, so far I'm liking it. I like Hattie. I do feel like she lacks a bit of self-awareness when it comes to her class and privilege, but in the same way that Lucien, our main character, lacks self-awareness to his own personal privilege of being a man. So like, they just need to talk to each other. They just need to like communicate, which I'm sure is gonna be happening down the line, but TBD. Alrighty, I have passed the 270 page mark and it is time to make a quick lunch. I'm gonna make some ramen. I would say it's definitely starting to get steamy. It's taking a bit longer to get steamy, I guess, than maybe I was expecting, but I do appreciate a lot of the tension the author was able to create. This sort of back and forth hatred between the two characters is pretty entertaining, though obviously they are starting to talk more and understand each other. I will say I appreciate a lot of the dialogue around the political economic reality of the Industrial Revolution, and also how oftentimes advancement impacts, you know, the labor classes significantly a lot more than the people making all the money at the top. It's weird. I go back and forth. Like, I feel like it's an interesting aspect, and I appreciate that there's a little more kind of worldview and political discussion within a romance novel, but it also feels like a little hollow because it is a romance novel, and like at the end of the day, like that's not, I don't know, it's like not going to be like fully explored. It's just kind of still a backdrop for this romance to happen. So I'm kind of tossing myself back and forth because of it. But anyway, I'm gonna read more. It's cute, it's steamy. That's all I got. A little bake-off and some ramen. A perfect cool or cold winter's lunch. Matilda is still here. I stepped away for a bit to get some work done, but fresh cup of coffee, fireplace, and I'm gonna finish a portrait of a Scotsman right now, which I don't have very much left, so I feel like this will be a breeze. Hello, it's me. I finished a portrait of a Scotsman. Hey, 408 pages read, plus the pages I read for written in red. I read over 500 pages, which I'm really pleased with. I have a variety of thoughts about this book. I would say I liked it. I didn't love it, and in fact I would say the second half really kind of dragged for me. It was like a little slower. It definitely got very, very steamy, but I would say like Hattie as a main character was just not one of my favorite heroines to read from. It also sort of has that sort of like very innocent, sheltered type of character you sometimes run into in historical romances. I liked it. I thought it was okay. The setting, like everything was fine. I did find the overall like plot spike to be a little predictable in terms of the major conflict. So like I was honestly like all in all, I was like, oh, this is okay. I'm gonna probably give it like 2.75, 3 stars. Like solidly entertaining, not one of my faves. I will say though, it got like a half a star back or like a little bit back because I really loved the immediate ending. Like the last 20 pages of this book I thought was very unexpected and I really liked it. Well, I found the second half of this book very predictable. The last 20 pages I found to be great, and also like just showed Hattie in an entirely different light and showed like a lot of growth. And I wish like that part of the book was actually fleshed out earlier and became more of a central plot line versus kind of an epilogue moment, because I thought it was a really interesting development all in all. But I did like this book. I thought it was entertaining. I definitely will read more books within this particular series. They're so fast, so easy to read. If you love steamy historical romance, like this is a great book to check out, and other books by this author as well. So had a fun time, and I'm now obviously going to be starting my Christmas romance next. So romances to ignore my problem. Watching a little bit of Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, and then I'm going to start my third book, The Holiday Swap, and my third romance-centered story for this vlog. Hi friends, it's Reagan, and welcome to the end of the vlog. The next day, I just wanted to quickly wrap up all of the books I was able to start, finish, and the above for this vlog, because I have 3 romances to basically chat about. To quickly run through the first one, I obviously finished Written and Read by Anne Bishop, which I enjoyed. Read the last 130 pages of this. It was interesting. I loved the paranormal aspects of this world. The romance, I have a feeling, is going to be incredibly slow burn. And then from there, I read A Portrait of a Scotsman, which I liked, didn't love. First half was interesting. Second half just kind of dragged for me. The ending did catch me by surprise though, but it is a steamy, relatively entertaining book. So if you're looking for a fun romance, this could be a good one to check out, but I wouldn't say it's my favorite. And then I did read 100 pages of The Holiday Swap by Maggie Knox, which I know I haven't talked about at all because I did it last night, but let's quickly chat about it. This is a story that basically follows 2 twin sisters who decide to switch places again at the beginning of this novel. The first sister is Charlie, and she's like a celebrity chef. At the beginning of this book, she's filming like a segment, but an accident happens on set, which results in her losing her taste of smell and taste, which is obviously very needed when you're a professional chef for a living. And then Cass, her other sister, lives still in their hometown, and she's going through a really bad breakup, and it also just seemingly never wants to end. So both of them are kind of looking to get away, kind of escape their everyday lives, so they decide to swap places. So Charlie goes back to their hometown and starts working in her sister's bakery as her sister, and her sister Cass comes to LA, and both of them meet men, and so far it's definitely really cute. I love the family component, this sort of twin sister situation, and obviously it being set during Christmas is always a joyfully good time. I wouldn't say it's like blowing me away so far, but it's definitely entertaining and kind of like a really fun Hallmarky sort of romance story. I also like that we get 2 main characters with Cass and Charlie. I think that's really interesting, and I also always love this like big city gal going back to her small hometown sort of trope. It's fun and repackaged in a million ways, but I'm always a sucker for it and think it's a great time. So I definitely plan to continue reading this and finish it before the end of this month, but I was able to read 100 pages, which did put me about like 640 pages for this vlog, which I think is pretty good. So I'm gonna take that as a win. But nonetheless, I hope you guys enjoyed this sort of self-care romance reading vlog, because I know I did. And I will see you soon with another video soon. Goodbye.